So, good day sir, good day classmate. My name is Genuine Carelio. I'm from C5 Galaxy. So, today's my report is about V-type engine. So, the V-type engine has the cylinder arranged on the crankcase in two rows or banks forming the letter B with an angle between the banks of 90, 60 or 45 degree. There is always an even number of cylinders in each row. Since the two banks of cylinders are opposite each other, two sets of connecting rods can operate on the same crankpin, thus reducing the weight per horsepower as compared with the inline engine. The frontal area is only slightly greater than that of the inline type. Hence, the engine cooling can be streamlined to reduce drag. So, in other terms, the V-type engine is a newer generation compact engine design. This engine construction places the cylinder at an angle instead of in a straight line with each other. The angle between the cylinders varies from 60 to 90 degrees. The angle between the cylinders from V shape. So, for example lang ha. Yung for example lang naman to. So for example ito yung V-type engine. So for example lang naman. So example ito yung cylinder, tapos yung piston ito yung piston. So yung cylinder, piston, crankshaft sa loob, tapos yung crankcase dito sa labas. So para mas maintindihan nyo, may ipapakita ako na video mamaya. So and that is why this engine is called the V-type engine. With a few exceptions, the V-type engine is usually made with an even number of cylinders. An example includes such as 2 twin, 4, 6, 8 or 12 and so on. This type of design's construction considerably reduces height, length and weight for the engine compared to an engine design type with an equal number of cylinders. So the V engines have a complex design and hence carry high costs of manufacturing compared to an inline engine of similar capacity. The two-cylinder V is also known as the V-twin. The manufacturers typically employ them for high-end sports bikes and cruisers. On the other hand, high-end superbikes use V4 design. The high-end cars such as Salons, SALOONS, Salons, sports cars and SUVs commonly employ the V6 and V8 and V12 designs. So vehicles with engine capacity above 3.0, especially cars, tend to use V engine design. In this design, engine houses its camshaft in the cylinder head known as overhead camshaft. So ang advantage naman ng V-type engine, number 1, smallest of all the 8 cylinders engines. Number 2, the low position of bonnet, BONNET, bonnet helps in better aerodynamics, increases Number 3, increases primary balance and reduces vibrations. Number 4, the smoother operation for high-speed performance. 5, compactness makes suitable for high-end sports car. So ang disadvantage naman ay on the downside, V-type engines can be complicated to manufacture and service if the cylinders aren't against correctly. The car engine can be horribly unbalanced, leading to mechanical stress and vibration without additional mechanism to correct this imbalance.
Hi, this topic we will be discussing about a V-type engine. As you can see over on the screen, these cylinders are placed in a V shape. You can see the pistons and the V shape created by the connecting rod also over here. So this is the crank shaft, and this is a crank case. In these two cylinders are placed with their center line at some angle to each other. As you can see, generally this angle is kept like 60 degree, but in some instances angles become like 40 to 90 degree are also used. Its main advantage is that it can be made more compact in the construction. The short crankshafts are used, which also means more rigidity, due to which the engine runs more smoothly at higher speeds in a V-type engine. Besides, overall length and height of the engines are decreased. The weight volume ratio is also lower actually compared to an inline engine, so that's an advantage for V-type engines. However, there are uneven intervals between the power impulses. That means this which take place every 270 degree and 450 degree of the crankshaft rotation. And also the cost of manufacturing is high, and the balancing is more difficult in V-type engines. That's why these engines are actually not employed in automobiles. So I believe you got a brief idea about the construction and the factors of a V-type engine.
opposed flat or O-type engine. So the opposed type engine is most popular for light conventional aircraft and helicopters and is manufactured in size delivering less than 100 to more than 400 horsepower. These engines are the most efficient, dependable, and economical type available for light aircraft. Gas turbine engines are being installed in some light aircraft, but their cost is still prohibitive for the average airplane owner. The opposed type engine is usually mounted with the cylinders horizontal and the crankshaft horizontal. However, in some helicopter installation, the crankshaft is vertical. The engine has the lower weight to horsepower ratio, and because of its flat shape, it is very well adapted to streamlining and horizontal installation in the nacelle. Another advantage is that is reasonably free from vibration. So in other terms, the opposed type engine has two banks or cylinders directly opposite each other with a crankshaft in the center. The piston of both cylinder banks are connected to the single crankshaft. Although the engine can be either liquid cooled or air cooled, the air cooled version is used predominantly in aviation. It is generally mounted with the cylinders in a horizontal position. The opposed type engine has a low weight to horsepower ratio and its narrow makes it ideal for horizontal installation on the aircraft wings twin engine application. Another advantage is its low vibration characteristic. So opposed piston engine have the advantage that it doesn't need cylinder head or a valve train system. Includes such as push rods, rocker arms, or exhaust or intake valve. It only needs a camshaft to operate the fuel pump. This is accomplished by having two crankshafts geared together attached to two pistons in one cylinder so that each cylinder has a piston at both ends. So the kind have the crankshaft arranged with one crankshaft at the top and one at the bottom. It has two rows of port around the single liner. The two row gets covered by each piston. As a both piston move to their BBC, both ports are uncovered and air from a blower comes in the upper intake port and blows out the lower exhaust port forging the expanded exhaust. As the lower piston raises, it covers the exhaust ports. The lower crankshaft is timed 12 degrees before the upper crankshaft so that covers the lower ports and compression begins as the upper piston also covers. The lower intake port are closed first as the lower piston moves up but open first after the compression, injection sequence, and expansion of the power stroke. The disadvantage of such an engine is having to maintain two crankshaft and assorted gear. This makes it difficult to remove piston and especially liners, in which case I believe the upper crankshaft must be removed. So opposed piston engines, there are various type configurations. Piston come together with combustion chamber between. There is an unusual design with three banks or opposed piston configured in a triangle when viewed from either end. Engine was called the Deltic and powered diesel trains in the UK. So advantage easy to configure as a stroke diesel, Rhodes, Lister, diesel and Deltic. Number 2, smooth running. So the disadvantage requires either two crankshaft or rocker arrangement to drive a single crank mounted below or above the cylinders. It is also difficult to arrange a valve layout for 4-stroke configuration with the cylinders. So most have been 2-stroke engines, which are not very fuel efficient. So that's all. Thank you.
Welcome to the video tutorials of Mekanis Muller. Since the early ages of 4-stroke internal combustion engines, there have been numerous attempts to replace them. One of the well-known candidates was the Wankel rotary engine. Since it is not widely used, we may not consider it as a successful competitor to the 4-stroke piston engine. The opposed cylinder engine, also known as APOC engine, is another candidate backed by Bill Gates. This engine is under development by Echo Motors, and also backed by Navistar, whose affiliates produce international brand commercial and military trucks. Only time will tell whether it will be a viable alternative to 4-stroke internal combustion engines or not. The APOC engine is comprised of two opposing cylinders per module, with a crankshaft between them. Each cylinder has two pistons moving in opposite directions. This innovative design configuration eliminates the cylinder head and valve train components of conventional engines, offering an efficient, compact, and simple core engine structure. The result is an engine family that is lighter, more efficient, and economical, with lower exhaust emissions. The APOC engine has 50% fewer parts than a conventional engine, and uses conventional components, materials, and processes. This animation shows the side and top views of the APOC engine with all major components. This makes the animation of the engine a little bit cluttered, but gives a good overall picture of the workings of the APOC engine. In the video released previously, the major components were shown individually. At the end of the compression, fuel is injected into the combustion chamber. After the ignition, the inner piston arms work in push phase while the longer outer arms work in pull phase. These push and pull actions acting on the crankshaft balances the forces acting on it. Since there are two pistons in a cylinder, the stroke of each piston is shorter. Shorter stroke of piston means higher the rotation speed of the crankshaft. At the end of the expansion phase, the exhaust gates open first to discharge the burnt-out gases. After 30 degrees crank rotation, inlet ports are opened and turbocharged fresh air is pumped into the combustion chamber. This process repeats itself with 180 degrees phase shift at the other cylinder. The inlet and exhaust gas movements are emphasized by arrows. The blue arrows indicate turbocharged inlet air while the red arrows indicate exhaust gases. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel and give a thumb up to this video. Thank you.